Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about this because this is something that 85% positive and negative people um, are going through, and mostly it's actually all the spiritual communities right now. I've seen this. This has happened right after 2012, December 21, 2012, and people were in shock. They were kind of frozen for a little bit. And then they went into denial. And denial is very interesting thing, what I call, because when you think about collective level, this is a spiritual coma. So just think about of a person being in the coma, okay? There's no movement, there's no emotion, there's just nothing, you know, and a lot of people, the denial is emotion without emotion. So it's just not going anywhere. So you saw in this last couple of years after the 2012, we've seen a lot of that kind of like, you know, just people just repeating the same thing over and over again. And when I think about a person in a coma, you know, you don't bring a new person to meet to a person in a coma. You give them something familiar, and you know how they tell you, you should talk to the person, tell them about, you know, your past, and you know, remind them of things, you know, something familiar, something that they loved, or something that made them feel good. You know, when a person in a coma, you don't bring future to them, you only bring past to them, or reminders of the past, and somebody who they knew before they went into the coma. This is what kind of what happens is that you know, when they talk to you in you know, to relatives and people that they know, and they say somebody who they feel close to. This is also on a collective level. A lot of people this last few years in the spiritual community, you know, they felt like they were most comfortable with the old information. So that's why it's like a broken record. A lot of the spiritual teachings and people, speakers, they kind of talk about, like, it's like a broken record. It's the same thing. It's just, it's really kind of like there's no kind of excitement or anything. It's just the past. It's almost like remembering the good old days, you know, how all this, and people will post something that was said at, you know, at workshop, or this spiritual person said this, or the teacher said that, or they have a feel like they wanted to read some old book, you know. This is and it's on collective level, so it's a coma, spiritual coma right now. The next one is anger and blame, and that one's gonna be an interesting one to watch. But for the 15%, you might be the receiver of that anger and blame. So be ready for it. Although I was feeling that this is not going to happen until about 2017. But honestly, greens, and the reason greens are, I'll just show that. The reason greens are going to wake up first, because they're right here. And when you look at that, positive and negative, greens are the most balanced. And there's a lot of green Dracos that are gonna go through this a lot quicker than the rest of them. Let's say, you know, the aqua, or the yellow ones, or the orange ones, the reds, and the purple ones. Oh, they're so out there. They're just, but I mean, blues are very active, and the golden ones, the golden dragons, and reds. Reds, I love reds. They're so obvious. So anger and blame, and then this, by the way, for collectives, will take lifetime or lifetimes. Okay. So this is what's going to happen. All right. So right now, most are here, spiritual coma. So they like to hear the old stuff, you know, how good it was, and working for the light was so good, and all that. And you will see in alternative media, it's all kind of same stuff, repeating itself over and over and over again. Nothing new. Nobody's gonna push anybody into anything, and they shouldn't, because it really is, when you push somebody, when somebody's going through this process on a personal level. I'm gonna give you an example on a personal level, and you try to push them out of denial. They could go deeper into denial, you know, and if you try to push them, you're definitely gonna be the one who's gonna be receiving all this stuff. 100% guaranteed. If you pushing them out of denial, they'll run and hide from it. You know, you tell them something that might push them into here, but they'll run and hide from it, and they pretend they don't even understand what you're talking about. Like they're afraid of it. Some people build their lives, the whole lives, on the duality, and you bring that, because how they can heal is they have to bring that duality down. The veil of separation has to come down for them, and it's shocking. It's shocking for these people, because they might work all their life. They've served that light creation. They've served it to the last breath. It's going to be difficult for them. Their whole house is crumbling down. Their whole basis for this positive and spiritual teachings, even for religion, is all so, you know, it's so positive. Take Christianity here. It's so positive. People work all of their lives, and they hate that devil. And just on the end, and they build their whole life on that positive thing, in working against devil. And then you come and you tell them, okay, you follow divine will, but you also following a devil, because divine will is the will. That's the same thing. It's just the negative side of divine will. Well, when you tell that to somebody, they're gonna freak out. It's like you're taking down their whole house that they built for their whole life, or maybe few lifetimes. It's horrible situation, but it's thinning down. The veil of separation is thinning down as it is. So, you know, we just. First, I just want you guys, and I'm sorry if I'm too direct, but I want you guys to first work on yourself, because a lot of you out there are fueling that positive side and thinking that nothing, the negative doesn't connect to it. I mean, come on, you can't do that anymore. You can't. You gotta bring yourself into that. You gotta bring yourself out of that illusion. You can't just play with it anymore. Yeah, we could play with it for a while, but right now the greens are waking up to a next stage, and we can't play with it anymore. Okay, so we have to really work hard on this. So, and then of course, you know, the 7 levels, and then this is the frequency, and we have this as a piano keys, and this is, I mean, right here. And if you want to know where layers are and who is who and where they are, then this would be a good one. Draco, 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 Draco. This is higher. This is actually 13. And that's another one, that 13 is actually, this is even a higher level, so this is what comes after this, okay? Anunnaki, 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 Anunnaki. But they're all mixed here, and they're mixed with this. They're mixed with this, and they're mixed with this. They're mixed with this, and they're mixed with this. Mixed with this, and that's why Anunnaki are kind of weird, because they mix with both. Some of them mix with aqua, some of them mix with blue. Then this Anunnaki specific frequency, and then they mix with blue, and then they mix with purple. I mean, it's just with the violets. This is crazy. I mean, but going into Anunnaki races, I think there is not, I mean, it's just too complicated. Right now, this is the basics, and we have to, because right now, the Anunnaki is going to be kind of difficult. The first people that will be going through that process are going to be the draconians, okay? They're the ones, okay? And the other thing with this, that once this comes to here, you will see a lot of spiritual teachers are running and hiding. They will say, oh, I'm retiring, or this and that, because, and you know, you guys, they are not really the blame too. They're just as much being used and abused and fooled as the rest of the people. They just, I mean, they're the ones who's going to be stuck in that astral and ghost space dust too. They are not going anywhere, but they know once that comes closer to them, they know that they will have to run. And some of them, we will never hear from them again. Some might be brave and admit that they also been used and abused, but some will hide. Some will hide. They'll blame it on sickness or retirement or old age or whatever, but they would not want to be in public eye when that comes, because the people that they led into a slaughterhouse will be angry at them. You know, even though they shouldn't be, but they will be. That's just the process. Okay, this one I know it's a little one, but I wanted to show you because there's this handshake. And what this handshake actually means is that shows you that connection, the positive and negative. This is the secret handshake. All it is that because when one works one side and another one works another side, they work the same level. When they work about the same level, so you will see a lot of like leaders on the planet doing this handshake. It's because they work in the same level. It's just positive and negative, but the same level. And then you see that, and then one eye is actually, it's actually the first layer. That eye, one eye, is the first layer of astral level. So that's the first god, or demigod, or whatever, that you know, and that controls that physical layer. Okay, that's why it's there. But anyway, this is the handshake. Okay, so it's just connecting positive and negative. It's connecting both sides. And the reason why they can hide from people, and people think, they laugh at people, that people think it's so secretive, oh, what they're up to. All they do, all they know is they don't have the veil of separation between positive and negative. That's all it is. And they can manipulate that. And right now, there's a lot of reinforcement that, because that veil is thinning down, they try to reinforce that illusion, okay? Because that's their job. Otherwise, they fail. Like I was talking about war in Ukraine, and how the Ukrainian president and Russian president, they are on the same page. They need to create that war, and there is going to be war in there. Because they need to, but they manipulate people on both sides, because they need to feed the astrals. Because in earlier time, I was talking to you guys about when the harvest happens, the frequency that's here gets sucked away, and it takes to planetary. So whoever harvested, let's say, you know, this Dracos or this, and then Anunnaki, you know, then they take it, because there's portal to their plant places. Their home places. So when Ashayana talks about that, how they got 900 more years, but she always talks. She has a lot of truth, but her truths are always half truth, and then she takes half from one side and half from somewhere else, and sometimes she puts this together. But a lot of it, and a lot of the spiritual teachers will only have half truths available to them. So what she does, her whole teaching is based on the 12 races and their history, their home history, their light creation history. It's fascinating, but when you in the rehab center and you know all about your problem and how the addiction works, does that really help you to rehabilitate? Not really. Not really. So I'm going to go into that and what happens with this harvested frequency.